देखिए, हम लोग पहले पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से शुरू करते हैं। पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन जैसा कि हमने कहा था, पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन शुरू से हम बताएंगे। तो पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन जो है बेसिकली इसमें दो चीजें आती है। पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट द पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, हियर टू थिंग्स इंपॉर्टेंट, गवर्नमेंट एंड द पार्ट एंड पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, दो चीजें इसमें आती है, पब्लिक एंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. Administration basically is a part and parcel of our daily life. That means what we eat, the clothes we wear, the goods we buy, the streets and highways on which we travel, a short কিছু administration এর part. Many services we enjoy: education, medical care, housing facility, entertainment, protections of our lives and property. All these are concerning with administration. তাহলে আমরা বলতেই পারি অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন সব জায়গায় আছে, ফ্রম হোম টু টম, রাইট? তাও অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন ল্যাটিন ওয়ার্ড অ্যাড এন্ড মিনিস্ট্রেট থেকে এসেছে। অ্যাড মানে টু সার্ভ, মিনিস্ট্রেট মানে টু মিনিস্টার, দ্যাট মিন্স টু ম্যানেজ। তাহলে অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন পুরো মিনিংটা হয়ে যাচ্ছে ম্যানেজমেন্ট অফ অ্যাফেয়ার্স, টু লুক আফটার দ্য পিপল অর টু ম্যানেজ অ্যাফেয়ার্স। এটা নিয়ে অনেক তাত্ত্বিকরা অনেক কথাই বলেছে, আমি সেই তাত্ত্বিকদের কথা যাচ্ছি না, সেই কথায় আমি যাচ্ছি না। তাও অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন নিয়ে ফেলিক্স নিগ্রো, ওনার কথা যদি আমরা ধরি, উনি বলেছিলেন অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন ইজ দ্য অর্গানাইজেশন এন্ড ইউজ অফ ম্যান এন্ড ম্যাটেরিয়াল। তাহলে এই যে এটা দিয়ে আমরা বুঝতেই পারি, তাহলে পাবলিক অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন যখন অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন সাথে পাবলিক অ্যাড হয়ে যাচ্ছে, দ্যাট মিন্স ইট বেসিক্যালি সেজ অ্যাবাউট গভর্নমেন্টাল অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন। It basically speak to us about governmental administration. That means where public administration simply means management of governmental affairs and activities. Then you can say that public administration is a system of governmental affairs and activities, or a public administration system of organizations and action oriented with performance of these activities, right? তাহলে ওভারঅল one thing it is clear that public administration is a governmental administration. It is a public administration means service to the people rendered by a government agency. Here, who is the father of public administration? Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson, who says that public administration is detailed and systematic execution of law. Woodrow Wilson, who says that public administration is detailed and systematic execution of law. Every particular action application of law is an act of administration. Every particular application of law is an act of administration. According to Dimok, public administration as the accomplishment of politically determined objectives. Right, public administration is an instrument of translating political decision into reality. Public administration is an instrument of translating political decision into reality. It is action part of government. Here you can say that public administration is management of affairs of government. It is the management of affairs of government by an organizational structure which acts on behalf of people attempt to achieve common goal, accessible, transparent and accountable to public at large. Public administration is defined as the organization and management of human and material resource to fulfill the objectives and down by the government. Now the question is, what is the nature then? Public administration nature বোঝার জন্য আমাদের public administration দুটো ভিউ দিয়ে বোঝা যায়। একটা integral perspective view and another is the managerial perspective. Integral view basically public administration के एक broader areas देखते हैं। It basically want to see the public administration broader perspective. It says that administration is sum total of all activities. Integral views of public administration says that administration is the sum total of all activities, manual, commercial, managerial and technical etc. Manual, commercial, managerial and technical etc. It is basically all the acts of governmental officials from the parsons to the secretary. It basically counts the work of all persons from the lowest to the highest position. Woodrow Wilson, L. Dewey, Demo, Pipner, they are basically thinkers of the integral perspective. Whereas managerial views basically sees public administration in the narrow sense. It basically says the managerial activities of people who are involved in planning. That means managerial activities basically involved in the planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling. That means it basically follows the principle of POCCC. Planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, controlling. It means to manage or to gaping things. Luther Gillick and Urwin gave the idea of postcards, who says restrict itself only to the activities of few persons at the top. Then after subject matter or scope of public administration. Subject matter and the scope of public administration. By scope, we mean the major concern and areas of the public administration. Traditional writers, the scope of public administration, executive branch of government, says modern view extended the scope of public administration. Public administration as an activity, as a discipline. Basically, it says public administration as an activity, as a discipline. As an activity, it says that northern state people expect many things. People expect many things, a wide variety of service and protection from the government. As a discipline, it basically says about the postcard view and the subject matter view. Postcard view, that means the Luther Gillick and Ulrich public administration provides a number of welfare and social necessity services to the people. They all get the idea of POC, POCC. POC means P for planning, O for organization, C for command, C for coordinating, D for control. F.M. Quinn says public the study of administration deals with man, material, and method. Man, materials, and method. And Luther Gillick and Ulrich gave the idea of postcard. Then subject matter view says that functions of the service meet for the people, defense, law, word order, education, public health, agriculture, public work, social security, justice, welfare, etc. Then in the scope, we can see there are three perspectives in the scope of public administration. One is the narrow perspective, another is the subject matter view or a broader perspective, and the third one is the prevailing view. Divide the scope in two parts. Right. Narrow perspective view, that means postcard, which is think about the managerial view. Narrow, that means the managerial view, which basically says about the postcard planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, reporting, budgeting. Luther Gillick. Broader perspective, it covers all three branches of government. It covers all three branches of government, like a cooperative group, part of political process. The main exponent of broader perspective is the Woodrow Wilson. It is subject to view, subject matter view, and the prevailing view divide the scope into two parts: administrative theory and applied administration. Administrative theory, that means organizational theory, behavior, public personal administration. Applied administration, that means political concern, legislative concern, financial concern, defense, educational, social welfare, economic, foreign administration, local. On the base of these things, we can say about the significance of public administration. Public administration plays an important role in modern society. Right. W.B. Donham says that if our civilization fails, it will be mainly because of breakdown of administration. Henry Fayol says the administration process is universal. Felix and Negro says the real core of administration is the basic service, which is performed for the public. Okay. It is an instrument for providing service. It is an instrument for providing service. Protect the life and property by maintaining law and order. Protect the life and property by maintaining law and order. Service public health, education, housing, social security. It basically provides services. Right? Services like health, education, housing, social welfare. Public and responsible for implementing laws and policies. It maintains stability in society. Public administration is also an instrument of socio-economic change. It is also an instrument of socio-economic change. World War II faced the problems of poverty, third world nations, unemployment, social and economic breakdown. Public administration it is an instrument of change. Public administration basically as an instrument of national integration. Administration helps in the rehabilitation process of the refugee. Public administration in India provides stability to Indian democracy. It is the basis of government. Governmental base আছে। it is a stabilizing force in the society. It also provides its continuity in the services. In the era of liberalization and privatization, there is a decrease into the scope of function of the state, then the role of bureaucracy increased. Because basically bureaucrats bureaucrats take the guarantee and bureaucrats sign the inquiry report and inquiry the work of private agency. Basically, today we are supposing about the PPP model, public-private partnership. It's a very interesting thing. Nowadays, government are not doing anything. Basically, private companies are working. Private companies work to make roads, basically roads, provide railway facilities, many things, and bureaucrats only check the work of private organizations. It is not easy task. So the role of bureaucracy is very important in modern days. In the era of liberalization and democracy, the role of bureaucrats are not denied. Basically, it promotes and encourages and motivates the private sector. Here, the role of the state as a regulator of requires the existence of regulatory mechanism to protect and promote public interest by imposing regulation upon the private enterprises. In modern society, public administration plays an important role in modern society. It is an instrument of formulate and implement public policies. It maintains law and order. It is an instrument of social change and economic development. It provides various goods and services to the people. It also promotes national integration. Public administration as a mechanism for promoting culture of the society. Now the evolution of public administration. How public administration moves. Basically, evolution of public administration. In this lecture, the lecture is outlined the rise and growth of public administration as a separate issue. Here, basically, we can say that public, as we know that public administration generally means the service to the people tendered by a government agency. That means it is the management of governmental affairs and activities. But public administration is the result of evolutionary process which can be viewed in two perspectives: as an activity and as a subject of intellectual discipline. Public administration as an activity, it is as old as our civilized life, but as a subject, it is of recent origin. As an activity, it can be traced from ancient river civilization of Egypt, China, India, Mesopotamia. As a subject of intellectual discipline, it is of recent origin. It emerged during 19th century. As we know that as an important activity continue for a long time without having a substantial theoretical base. Now the question arises in our mind. We can raise the question like important activity continue for a long time without having a theoretical base. What do you think? It is possible. It did. That means here the answer is it did had a theoretical base as a part of related branch of knowledge like politics and ethics and law in different societies. Like when you take the example of Ramayana, Mahabharata, basically it says about the administrative ideas along with the political. Mahabharata and Ramayana is not the religious book. It basically is stated about the administrative problems and the political situations of that time. Basically, it says how to run the administration. It basically says in Ramayana. Basically says how to be a village. How did village run in that society. It says that how Rama built a ideal village and how Bharat run the administration smoothly in the absence of king. And it's also in the Mahabharata. You can take the many examples where you can take the examples of Bhishma Pitama, where you can take the examples of Krishna, take the example of Yudhishthir and Karna, who run their administration perfectly. And not only that, here also says about the how to run the administration and how to run the political organization, how to establish a kingdom. Also, yeah, it also says about that tell us. That means without any theoretical base, it is not possible to run a administration. So administration is administration run on the base of this books or on the base of this text. In the Smriti also says about the position of judicial administration. Kautilya's Arthas also deals with more administrative problems. It deals with the more administrative problems than the theoretical basis of the state. Now the questions arise. As a field of systematic study, public administration can, however, a long history, largely context as a subject specific field. Public and basically a largely a context specific. Basically, it's basically it American centric. Basically, in the 18th century, the great system have developed in the West. Basically, Anglo-American and the French. Anglo-American nature is strong American bias. Nowadays, what we read about the public administration, it basically the bias. It basically context specific. It basically says about the American public administration. Now, second, public administration, local historical development also we have to read in this evaluation. Public administration as an independent and a separate subject of study began in 1887 through the writings of Woodrow Wilson. Golbetsky says that understood public administration in terms of locus and focus. Golbetsky basically is to understood public administration in terms of locus and focus. Locus means the institutional where of the field. Where of the field. That means the scope of public administration. And the focus, what of the field? Where and the what? Nicholas Henry, in his book Public Administration and Public Affairs, says about the 5 paradigm of public administration. I am not going through the detailed discussion about the Nicholas Henry of 5 paradigm of public administration, because Nicholas Henry basically says public and politics administration dichotomy 1900 to 1926. The second, the principle of administration 1927 to 37. Public administration as a political science 1950 to 1970. Public administration as a management 1956 to 1970. Fifth, public administration as a public administration 1972 till now. Right. Then the 5 phase of public administration is said. Phase 1, the politics administration dichotomy. Then for the convenience of our study, we divide public administration in several phases. First phase is basically politics administration dichotomy. Politics administration dichotomy. In this stage, basically separate public administration from political science. Here the thinkers basically separate the public administration from political science and says that public administration is the visible side of the government, efficiency and accountability. Here the Woodrow Wilson was the first writer. Woodrow Wilson was the first thinker who systematically studied the public administration. He wrote the study of administration in 1887, and he basically laid the foundation of for a separate independent and study is separated administration from politics. He described public administration as a field of business and he says administration is a science. And Woodrow Wilson also says it is getting to be harder to run a constitution than to frame one. That it is easy to frame the constitution, but it is difficult to run the constitution. And administration basically run the constitution. And these ideas basically developed by Frank J. Goodnow. Frank J. Goodnow in his book Politics and Administration in 1900, they were evolving the discipline of public administration in the USA and draws the functional distinction between politics and administration. And there was a functional distinction between the public politics and administration. And he says that politics has to do with what he says. He says that politics has to do with policies or expression of the state will. Politics has to do with the policies or expression of the state will, whereas administration has to do with the execution of this policy. That means the work of politics is to make the policies, through the policies, and the administration, the work of administration is to execute the policies. Right? That means politics, legislature, and the highest echelons of government, whereas administration is the executive arm of the government. It is the executive arm of the government. And the third, L.D. White, who wrote Introduction to the Study of Public Administration in 1926. He wrote Introduction to the Study of Public Administration in 1926. He says that public administration is a value-free science, and the mission of administration would be economy and efficiency. What he says, the mission of administration would be the economy and efficiency. The politics, administration, the economy emerged as a conceptual orientation whereby the world of government was to be divided into two functional areas. Where the government was to be divided into two functional areas. One is the administrative and the another is the political. That means the politics, administration, dichotomy emerged as a conceptual orientation whereby the world of government was to be divided into two functional areas. One is the administrative and another is the political. Second stage. The first stage basically says about the politics, administration dichotomy or a dichotomy. What you said, all things is right. Some teacher read as dichotomy and some English specialist says that dichotomy. Okay. And the second stage basically says about the principle of administration. The time period of second stage is 1927 to 1937. It basically searches for the universal principle. The main theme of the second stage is to tendency the rate for the idea of politics and dichotomy and dichotomy. It evolved value-free science of management. Here in the second stage is basically focus on efficiency, production, relation. Here it basically there are three main ideas, three main principles are developed. Science of management, theory of administrative management, and bureaucracy. And the bureaucracy. Here you can take the example of Willoughby. Willoughby says about the principle of public administration. What he says about the principle of public administration. He wrote Principle of Administration in 1927 and developed the scientific principles and administration. Then after MP Follett, who wrote the Creative Experience in 1924. Henry Fayol, who wrote Industrial and General Management 1930s. He gave POC, that means the plan, organize, command, coordinated, control. He gave 14 principles. He gave 14 principles. Mooney and Riley principle of he wrote principle of organization 1939. Three basic functions. He says about the three basic functions. That is the first being the goals need to be set. Course of action to achieve the goal. Decision will be taken for respective organization. Develop the management theory of administration. Littell, Gehrig, and Urwig. Then after Littell, Gehrig, and Urwig wrote about the paper on the science of administration. 1937. He gave the concept of post-thought. Planning, organizing, staffing, coordinating, planning, organization, staffing, directing, coordinating, reporting. It is marked as organizational theory or classical theory of administration. Basically, then after the F.W. Taylor, they wrote Principle of Scientific Management, where he basically focused on scientific management theory, focused on the lower level of personnel in the organization. He replaced the rule of thumb. And he said the job should be assigned to the workers on the basis of the capacities and skills. He allocate work between manager and workers. Taylor says about the soft floor management. Gehrig and Urwig study of organization as a whole. Max Weber, the ideal type of bureaucracy. He spoke about the ideal type of bureaucracy, fundamentally conceptualizing of organization. Following the World Wars, the dichotomy of politics and administration came under attack. Then after the phase three basically is era of challenges. 1937, 38 to 1947. 1938 to 1947 is basically the era of challenges. Challenges to the principle of administration and politics administration dichotomy. It is based on the human relations. It is based on the human relations. Critical principle of administration on the ground of lack of scientific validity of universal relevance, human relation behavioral approach. Elton Mayo wrote about the human problems of an industrial civilization. Elton Mayo gave the Elton Mayo her experiment with the Hawthorne experiment. It is focused on the social and psychological factors. That means phase three basically challenge the second phase, and he says human beings are not the message. Human beings are not the message. It says about the psychology, which the second phase basically ignore the psychological aspect of the human being. Third phase basically says about the psychological aspect of the human being. It focuses on the psychological factor on the work situation. It is not possible. We are providing everything, but we are not treating human as a human being. Then how do we work? It is not possible to work in the unhuman condition. They need the human condition. They need the human psychological factors. Then the human side of it, third phase basically focus. Chester I. Bernard, who wrote the function of executive, he rejects the idea of politics administration dichotomy and the principle of politics administration lacking in scientific way. Then after Herbert Simon, who wrote Proverbs of Administration in 1946, and he also wrote Administrative Behavior, a study of decision-making process in administrative organization in 1946. He advocated the behavioral approach to public administration to make it more scientific discipline. That means he says that decision making is the heart of administration. Then after Robert Dahl, the science of public administration, they three problems, 1947. He emphasized the environmental effects on administrative behavior. He identified three problems in the evolution of public administration. What he identified? He identified about the three problems in the evolution of public administration. One is the values, second is the individual personality, and the third is the social framework. Values, individual personality, social framework. It says about the comparative public administration. It is basically conceptually there might be a science of American public administration, science of British public administration, science of French public administration. Public administration extended to varying historical, sociological, economic, and other conditional factors. That means fourth phase. Then after the fourth phase basically it regarded as a crisis of administration. It basically is basically marked as marked the tendency from 1948 to 1970. It rejects the political administration dichotomy. It emerges basically up in this phase. There is a comparative ecological and development administration emerged in the post Second World War period. The emergence of the new nations in Asia, Africa, and Latin America recognize the importance of the relevance of environment factors and their impact on the different administration systems, and it developed the comparative ecological and development administration. And basically, this phase marks the debate for the return of values in the public administration. Here, cross-cultural as well as the cross-national study of the administration. And in this phase, basically, public administration face the crisis of identity, because in the first instance where public administration, where the thinkers try to separate the public administration from political science, politics, it basically says about the try to give the separate identity. But in the second phase, it becomes a part of the management, and the third phase again it becomes a part of the psychology or human factors, human behavior. And in the fourth phase, again it try to become the part of the political science. Then where is their identity? What is their separate identity? That means the theory of public administration means in our time a theory of political. So promoting say dominance of political science over public administration, rise of new human relation approach, Chris agrees Douglas, public choice approach, Vincent Ostrom. Then after phase 5. Phase 5 is basically says about the public policy perspective. It says about the public policy perspective. Focus on the dynamic of administration. It is considered as interdisciplinary. Public administration become interdisciplinary, policy science, political economy, policy making, policy analysis, and so on. Now the public administration basically is related with the policy science, related with the political economy, policy making. More focus on policy. Public policy is the combination of decision, commitment, and action taken by those in power to address public demands. It is a combination of decision, commitment, and action taken by those in power to address public demands. Public policy is made for the welfare of people and other development. Rise of New Public Administration is basically related with the Mino Group Fast 1968. It's sponsored by David Waldo and put much emphasis on relevance, value, social equity, and social change. It basically put much emphasis on values, relevance, social equity, social change. It is a citizen oriented. The overall focus of NPA movement was to make administration less generic and more public, less descriptive, more prescriptive, less institution oriented, more client oriented, less neutral, more normative. Now the new school is open. National Association of School of Public Affairs and Administration (APSA). Then after public choice school, the new school also emerged. Public choice school as application of the rational choice model to non-market decision making. Jim Buchanan, alternative available for the decision of the service to citizens. Then after Mino Group first 1968, it basically gave the idea of the new public administration. Mino Group second 1988, it gave birth to the new public management approach to governance. New public management advocated by the David Osborne and Ted Develer. It basically related with the reinvented government to use the private society style model. It basically focus on the private management system, organizational ideas. It focus on think individual as a customer oriented. Three is formula here related. Features of the NPA, NPM focus on management is the main features of the new public management is the focus on management, empowerment of the citizens, cost cutting in public sector. Basically focus on the how to cut the cost of public sectors, encourage quasi market, decentralized forms of governance, focus on entrepreneurial government, participatory management, community overall government, citizen consumers. Focus on debureaucratization, democratization, and decentralization and administrative process in the interest. New public service model, John Janet and Robert Denhart, known as the digital era governance. Then after new public service model, focusing on theme of reintegrating government. Another new public service model is new public governance. Now this is the last phase, new public service governance. New public governance, globalization is another phenomena with broad paradigm shift in nature. That means it is a more flexible, less hierarchical. Successor to NPM is the digital era governance. Globalization and rolling back of the state made public administration more proactive and collaborative. Welcome the help of the civil society and market, that means the private sector. Traditional welfare society, public administration model of welfare delivery, bureaucratic structure, professional dominance. Then now it focus on the public-private partnership. Public-private partnership basically it focus on the LPG model, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. In this phase, LPG three important dimensions of public administration will be the enabler, collaborator, and facilitator. Then the third Mino Group Conference 2008 focus on the global concerns such as the terrorism, climate change, etc. Three is economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. Global financial architecture, public administration in art, science, practical application. The future of public administration around the world. The Mino Group perspective by Rosemary, David M. Van. Importance basically is focused locally and globally. Some of the most important significant trends that will have an impact on public administration for years to come include. Public and for social change, the government of India established various endeavors to successfully implement the e-governance initiative. The complexities exist due to the interoperability among central, state, district, or local government. Focus on e-governance today. Technology driven growth through India largest producer of generic medicines. Here in India, basically it developed in the Lucknow University, and this is the evolution of the public administration. This is the evolution of the public administration. Now the question arises: what is the difference between public administration and the private administration? Public administration basically governmental administration, whereas the private administration is the administration of organization under private ownership. Public administration is a goal-oriented, created public values, whereas the private administration increases profit and shareholders wealth. Public administration is basically focused on public or shared decision making. Private administration, private or individual decision making. It focuses on public administration is not profit oriented. Private administration is the profit oriented thing. Okay. Then after the new chapter I will start from the next.